Daddy, tell me a story.
Oh, Bob. Thank you, Bob. So the theme of tonight is everything changes, right? And I've been building up to some changes, and it's starting to land, and it's a little interesting. And it's nothing is consistent in life except change. And sometimes it's little, sometimes you can see the next few steps, sometimes it's easy. And in this case, I've been running an ambulance company for 5 years now. And that was a big change because I never wanted to do that. I was teaching at an EMT school. And before that, I was hustling and everything else. But during that time, my partner and I came up with the idea for One EMS. And it's been frustrating up and down because I told him on day one, when we came up with this idea, we knew this is going to be, for our lives, this is going to be an idea that changes the world and our industry, in our realm. With his insight and his, he likes the politics of things, so he could deal with that part of it. And I like the boots on the ground and the education and opening mindsets. It just works. And every time we tell somebody about this, that's in EMS world, their eyes are like, oh my God, here, let me give you this information. Let me give you this. But it's been years coming because on day one, I said, we need to find a new COO for this company because I cannot do both. I don't want to do both. He's like, oh no. And for a while I did learn a lot of different things, but ultimately I played out right. Is like what slowed down the growth of One EMS is that every time we go to a conference and pick up momentum and really make a splash and make a hit and affect some small change on a small level, is coming back to work and going, oh, I got to put this fire out. I got to babysit. The further up the food chain you go as far as leadership, the more it becomes about babysitting. Until you hit a certain uncanny valley gap, then becomes leading leaders. And I can see that in people like Mark Cuban and I don't know, you name off a bunch of big CEOs that have great, or big, heads of companies that have great COOs underneath them and that kind of thing. But I just don't have the patience to get past that gap. Everybody I worked on, they did okay, but they needed a different style of leadership that was more executional and more operational. And me, I'm just like, hey, Kurt, you said you want to be a great podcaster. Here's what you got to do. Get on your show, talk about what you love. Boom, you're good. Great to, whatever. And then I need you to go do it. More of a consulting kind of coaching than hey, Kurt, you work for me. I'm going to need you to show up every day and edit this video and get this audio to, and that's what I mean by babysitting. It's like, hey, you were supposed to do this last week. Where is it, kind of deal? And so last year, about halfway through, just because I still don't know why, and it's not like we've sat down and talked about it, but for the first part of the year, me and my partner were just grinding. We weren't simpatico. He owns those companies, so he's always treating me like a partner, but he was my boss there. And it was just, we weren't talking, something was off, things weren't right. I was doing the best I could, and I kept getting grief about why aren't we pushing One EMS more? And I've pushed back. It's like, because I have 15 fires to put out, because I keep having to change this. I keep, and then in halfway through the year, things just broke. We got some mindset change happen. We got some other changes. And I think that started the path of going, okay, I think he realized, not because I was resistant, but because he was seeing things that he thought should have been obvious to me that I'm not seeing because I'm looking at 15,000 other things and I expect this job just to get done. And I think that started the path. Then we got to November, started really seriously talking about what One EMS would look like. Cause he was like, I can pay you 20 grand right now. I was like, yeah, nobody can live off of 20 grand. I mean, it was not being mean or anything. But he's like, I mean, honestly, if you were to leave the company right now, I can write you a check for $20,000, but yeah, dude, I don't know how we make this happen financially right there. But then we got a grant writer and we started going through that and then, man, the dominoes just started falling into place. So by the time we hit the first of the year, I was handing off the chief desk to somebody else for part of the company and taking on the parts of the company that I liked and freeing up my energy and my headspace and that kind of thing. And then One EMS really has been starting to take off. In fact, I got an email to check since the show's over that we potentially have our first sponsor dropping in money. And so we got this grant writer who she didn't just write the grant. She then, cause she just loved what we do. We worked out a deal where she is submitting the grants for us, and because she knows all the systems, and we let the experts do the expert things. And I kid you not, I have lost so much time having to still fix a few little problems over at the ambulance, which I'm still wearing their logo tonight. I came in late from work, so we're doing the last handoff tonight, so I had to come straight into the show basically. And it's just becoming more and more clear that I need to be here in the studio because there's paperwork I have to do. I have to file stuff with the state. I have to learn how to manage classes and all the paperwork. I have to watch actual classes on how to run a school according to the state. And while I know a lot of the stuff, it's a lot. And then just going and getting the money and getting the partnerships and everything else that goes in. And I love that he sees it because I'm about to get to the big change, scary part, because he's all supportive and like, hey, not gonna lie, little side note, today's meeting, we have we call it the statewide because we have bases all across the state in Georgia. And so that's the one meeting we all come together, talk about the numbers. And I run that meeting because I know all the text. I'm putting up the screens and pulling things in, all that stuff. But we're talking about the numbers and profitability. And what hurt my feelings a little bit was my replacement, who I picked. I mean, as soon as I saw his resume, I was like, no, this guy's my replacement. He's killing it. He's freaking 24. And I'm like, dude, I mean, but desire is everything. He wanted, I don't know from what age, but he wanted to run an ambulance company. He went and got a master's degree in running ambulance company, like literally in ambulance operations and ambulance finance and all this other stuff. But what hurt my feelings was he is the right choice because all of a sudden, all of my former bases profitable, where we struggled all through last year, and it was ups and downs because I'm about people. And if the people will listen to me and do right, we'll be profitable. But this kind of business needs somebody who goes, we're going to be profitable, and either the people will get right or they'll get out. And that's a big overview. Anybody wants to talk profit versus people, I think that'd be a great discussion later on a different show. But for this, I was like, good on you. I mean, I told him, I was like, you're doing a great job. I know you're stressed out, but he's putting money on the board. That was always there. It just wasn't being done right because
Right.
not that I mismanaged. I'm not that guy. I'm the dreamer. I'm the builder.
So this really, I mean, the more you keep talking about it, the more that, in the company that I'm in, we follow a system of
Sure.
Managing the company, and it's actually called the EOS system, the employment operating system. It's a gimmicky management thing, but
Sure.
but the way it works just works. But one of the big tenets of it is putting the right butts in the right seats.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to my mind, from just hearing you talk, you weren't in the right seat. You just weren't in the right seat.
At the last year, absolutely. Building. I'm a great builder. I build communities. I first 4 years, I was the right seat. But once we became a big corporation, I need to get off that bus.
But that just speaks to the fact that new seats become available and the seats on the bus change, right?
Yeah.
And
I've heard the bus metaphor before too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we spend an awful lot of time making sure we've got the right butts in the right seats. And so
that's important.
Yeah. And so and when it comes to managing people, like you, I focus very much on the people, but I don't focus on the job itself. And what I mean by that is I had a manager years and years and years ago who said, okay, so do you want to be the supervisor or do you want to be the manager? And I went,
right.
What are you talking about? And she said, here's the difference. The difference is a manager manages people. A supervisor manages jobs or projects or work, the work really. And from that point forward, I took it and I've been operating under that understanding. And so
which one are you?
A manager, 100% a manager.
It's interesting because from the concepts of it, I've always conflated and flipped the two. Like, I want to supervise people, same principle. I want to connect with the people, and the people do the job. Yeah, I've just always thought about management as I've got to manage you make sure you do the job versus the people. But I get what you're saying. Words are words, but the concept's still the same. We want to connect with people,
right? The difference. So where I would like what you're talking about, and the places where you excel, I think, and again, it's not applicable to all industries, but I think you would be an amazing shop steward. You're on the floor making sure crap.
Oh yeah. So when I did AV, I was the lead every time at the hotel because of that. I run the show. I get the right people in. They do the job. Yeah, I get you. Yeah,
I don't want at all to deal with the minutia. I don't want to deal with the day to day. I want to deal with the people. And so, like, honestly, one of my big things that I had to do, because we have what we call rocks, which are like these bigger projects that happen once a quarter. And so one of my big rocks is I just finished developing our employee enrichment plan, which is how do we improve our employees? And it's very higher level, has little to do with their jobs themselves, but it's how do we improve them professionally so that they develop better skills? How do we develop them from a company standpoint? What does the company need? What holes does the company need to fill? And then how do we develop them personally? And so literally the question that I ask every person that I interview, even before they become an employee, is in 5 years, and you've been working in this industry, what would you like to be doing? What is your ideal job? You wake up in the morning, you come to work, and you're working your perfect job. And I said, the only stipulation is it doesn't have to be related to anything this company does. And so for me, one of the things I've always told my boss, my best friend in the world is my boss. I said, my goal is to make enough money with my voice so that I can quit this job.
Yeah.
And so but putting that out there and knowing that what can happen is, like, if somebody said that to me, what can happen is I can say, okay, so Joe, let's say you're working for me. You say you're a programmer right now, but you say, I would love to just do podcasting full time. So I might be looking for opportunities like, you know what? It's not really podcasting related, but you can use your voice. We have a customer who needs an automated attendant being recorded, and we can contract out for it, or we can hire you as a subcontractor to pitch it and provide opportunities where it's applicable, but just like, okay, so what kind of things can we give to you that may help you achieve your goals? And so we're very, very, very people focused, and the job is almost secondary.
And honestly, that lends itself to another talk at another time of I see things, where the path diverted in the company, because we were like that when I was building. But it did lead me to the opportunity, because it said then you got to find another COO. And because I know me, I know when I'm all in on something, I'm all in. And especially if there's parts of something else I don't like, it'll take the back burner. There's parts of Dragon Con I don't like, but it always takes the front, because it's 90%, 90% of the time it's 100% of what I want to do, type of deal. And so the big change right now, I want to know how you guys kind of cope with these things in your life, is I'm being offered to be a contractor right now with these ambulance companies and focusing on one EMS. One EMS has not brought in a single dime yet. And so I actually got an offer tonight to basically be a contractor to get paid exactly what I'm getting paid now, except taxes aren't coming out, and I'm not sure how it's going to do benefit. And so it's only supposed to be for a few months until one EMS can cover. But that's the thing with charities, they fund in specific ways. So if they say we do not fund operations, I can't take that money and say, well, I've got to pay my own paycheck so I can actually do this. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. And that's the scary part, is they'll extend it out and whatever, but it's like, okay, I'm getting what I wanted. I want to do one EMS all the time. I want to get back to doing my media, using my voice, creating, leading, talking, all that jazz. But I also know I'm in the midst of fixing my taxes for this year. Fixing being a loose term because I got some stuff off and whatever, but I have a mix of self-employment and employment.
Yep.
Well, I go contractor. I got to make sure that doesn't last super long because there's tax. There's going to be enough money that taxes have to be paid next year on it. So it's just it's a new world without knowing all the steps. Cause I know there's a great potential of money coming as far as funding one EMS and doing all that stuff, but it's not there yet. And it's like, well, if this takes a year for it to get there, what am I going to do about those taxes? Because actually, technically, the amount that I'm going to get paid as a contractor is my bring home amount currently.
Yep.
And which is after taxes. So I don't know. It's I haven't told Erin yet. I mean, she knew stuff of this is coming in, and she was happy that I did the handoff today. So no more worrying about the day-to-day operations. Like you said, Kurt, the minutia of all of it drives me nuts. I get to sit here most of my time sitting on my 3 screens. One of them always have an anime up on the screen. The other 2, emails and learning and editing videos and doing more content. Whew. But it's a whole new world on the function of the pay with that. I mean, it's even different than the hustle, man. When I was on the hustle, I had to take care of my own taxes, but I was only hustling 30, 40,000 a year. You know, I'm hustling. I got to hustle a lot more than that now with the economy and everything else. So, it's going to be an interesting, it's going to be an interesting spring.
That's a huge change.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, it is my choice, but it's not like I have a whole lot of choice in it. It's like, if we're going to make this happen, it's that unfortunately it's not this, but it feels like that entrepreneurial moment where they always look back and say it was make or break time. I had to dive in or give up. Right. And I'm never going to give up, but it is scary to dive in. So I actually have that safety net of my partner funding me from the EMS company. And because it's an actual 501c3, it's a donate, there's write-offs, there's all kinds of stuff that benefits him. And actually he's paying me less because he's not having to do taxes and workers' comp and all that on me. But it is a bit of a dive in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and if you're doing that, just put aside some money. You kind of have to, because otherwise the back end is not fun.
Yeah, we always want the back end to be fun, don't we, boys? The eyes on that one. Unfortunately, timing is everything. Unfortunately, my wife's inheritance from 2 years ago finally came in, and she finally got that cashed out. She's got some plans, and basically is paying off some debts. And so I've talked to her, like, okay, cool. One, she's put a lot of money away in savings, which is a good breathing moment. And it's like a non-touchable CD kind of savings. But I went, or I read a kid says, I did not have that on my bingo card. Then you didn't pick the right. You picked the Joe Hard bingo card. You didn't pick the Rock God bingo card. But I always believe in where I'm going. I always know where I'm going. I always know, no matter if I can't see that next step, the step is there. I have fallen a few times. I've never fallen so far that I could not pull my family out of it. I was smart like that. And when we pay off the debts with the inheritance, the money it's going to free up, at least 50% of that has to go into savings, is what I've talked to her about. So, because she's got her plan to spend the rest of the inheritance after she put away the savings. But this is, okay, we're freeing up bill space. Let's pay ourselves as a bill. And that should help, Kurt, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just because, again, only because I'm ultra sensitive about it, because I'm dealing with a lot of financial issues right now. So pay yourself for taxes.
Yeah. Joe, any advice?
Pray about it.
Here, spaghetti monster. No, I don't know. No, I got you. It's man, that's a whole nother talk. That's a whole nother talk and stuff. But it's not like it's a drastic change, and my family won't even see a difference. I just know what could come, and whatever comes will come. I got blindsided laid off in 2010 and went from, at the time, the most money I've ever made in my life, which is $60,000, which to me sounds sad, but it is. Look, being a paramedic can be a sad progression in money. And then went from that to 20,000 a year overnight, and then got on the hustle and just brought it back up. So I know nothing will go crazy on me, and that's the key. And I want to throw this out to anybody who's maybe facing a big change or seeing an opportunity in their lives like this, or like, hey, I want to chase my dream. Before I got laid off, there was this conversation with my wife, and she hates the unknown. She's very impatient, and we saw almost literally the writing on the wall of, okay, I am going to get laid off. And she goes, why don't you just quit and chase your dream? I went, no, because I don't know where the money's going to come from in my dream. My dream, I was starting to build my podcast empire back then. And I could argue, I definitely can argue in 15 years that I have successfully laid a whole lot of groundwork, but the framework's not quite up yet. I can't just go, oh, I'll go get this client, I'll get that client, I'll make but it's just, whatever. But I said no, because there's no way. I don't have a plan to actually support the family to do that. 2 months later, I got laid off and got a golden parachute, which was helpful. I mean, when I say golden parachute, I got paid out like almost 20 grand to go away. And that took us to the end.
Good thing you didn't quit.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Right. And I mean, it really helped out, but also helped out in the fights. I said, no matter what, because when you go through that kind of bankruptcy and that kind of loss of everything and changing up your whole life, like we walked away from the house that we built. My kids had only known that house. My wife helped design the house, blah, blah, blah. We walked away from a whole life that we knew. I said, the one thing is, never in these darkest times were you able to go, you did this to us. Right. I said, that one moment I made the right decision. And that's the thing. It's not all or nothing. If you're thinking about this thing, have that backup plan, have the pathways to get some income. And I made a huge amount of progress over 2 years in my podcasting career by driving Lyft and Uber and roadie and doing overnight gigs with stage crews and whatever I could get. And it really progressed further. So breathe and know that you just got to know yourself, I think is the key. I mean, Kurt, you wouldn't have moved across country if you didn't know that you were going to bring something to the table and not lose your job next week, when you showed up in California.
Right.
So, and Random Kid puts a great bullet point on this. I know you said drastic, but I heard Jurassic. Good luck with your Jurassic change.
Yep.
Clever girl, Random Kid. Clever girl. So, but all right, and of course I'll keep everybody up to date. And I really feel like I'm leaning into my ascension phase of my life, where the world's going to know my name, and it's going to be good.